Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Be My Guest. I'm your host, Eric Guest. In this episode, I want to tell a story. And I want to talk about a couple different things in regards to that story. Because in starting this show, and starting kind of this journey and this mission into expressing and talking about some of the difficulties and some of my perspectives on the world of mental health and psychiatry. Initially going into it, obviously there's tension, there's some fear, there's kind of a gap or a bridge that you have to almost cross to get over some fears of fully being able to tell everything you think you'll be able to tell, or share the stories that will truly impact people on more of an emotional level that they can connect with because they've lived those experiences and those stories themselves. So, in wanting to do this show and almost getting ready and preparing to not just this episode today, but this show in general, there were some hurdles and some gaps that I almost had to fight to get over. And I'm going to discuss some of them and talk about some of them in today's episode. But my core principal message and the core kind of feeling that I want people to get out of the show is that I am one of you. I am someone with stories and lived experiences from the world of psychiatry and mental health that I am truly open about sharing and talking about. It's not that I don't fear, but I won't allow the fear to stop me from expressing and telling and sharing the knowledge or just the emotional experiences or traumatic experiences that happened and that I lived. So not allowing the fear to stop me. Not completely disregarding that maybe some of those fears are there around telling stories or telling certain things that happen, but ignoring it and not allowing it to stop me from expressing and sharing certain things. So with that being said, I am going to share a story about a time that I went to the psych ward. And this is what I mean by when I wanted to do this show and thought about doing the show. It were these kinds of stories that I was going to tell. I have a lot of documentation. I have a lot of experience. I have multiple hospitalizations. I have years of experience and reflection upon these stories and these times that I can bring to light with a positive message for people to hopefully either just relate to, get some comfort in relating to the message in the story, or potentially get something out of it that they can take with them in their own journeys. But the story I'm going to tell today is the time that I broke myself. The time that I broke my own mind is how I say, or is how I'll present it. Essentially, what was happening is I set out a goal. I set a goal that I was going to start running, and I opened an Instagram channel. I was private, but I started posting videos to this channel that I didn't allow anyone to follow, and I started running every day. And I started running, and I set a goal that, you know what, I'm just going to run. I'm going to run every day, no matter what, no matter the pain, no matter the excuses, and I'm going to see where that takes me. And I wanted to push my limits. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, get back to being in shape, kind of reignite the fire of being an athlete or striving to achieve certain things. And this was kind of the time that the David Goggins era was really popular. That intensive Jocko Willink, Cameron Haynes, David Goggins, these guys were really being promoted on Joe Rogan, and I was, at the time, I really listened to a lot of Joe Rogan, but this David Goggins message of, I don't want to be swearing and being belligerent and vulgar, but get up, do the push-ups, go running. I don't care what you feel. This type of aggressive, masculine, stop being a bitch, like message to these younger men that, you really gotta disregard your feelings, disregard fear, emotion, and really just put the hammer down, put the work in. And this really resonated with me on a certain level, on as a competitor, as an athlete, as someone who grew up in sports and competing and wanting to win. That really resonated with me. So with that message at that time, I said, okay, I'm gonna run every day. I took a page out of David Goggins' book and I started running. And one of these days, I think it was leading up to the winter, it's kind of cold out, maybe late autumn, maybe November-ish, and I'm running in my town, and I started yelling out loud, I'm gonna break you. And I'm running, and I'm yelling out loud, I will break you. I will break you. And I don't know where this is coming from. This is coming from somewhere within, okay? It's the David Goggins spirit speaking through, maybe, the influence of his message. And I'm saying this to myself as I'm running along, I will break you. I will break you. I will break you. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that how that would impact the future, what I was setting up, what I was doing. But ultimately, I kept running. I kept running day after day after day, having some body pain, some sleeping issues, whatever. And with kind of my mental health situation and the mental illness factors and symptoms that I have in my life, this was kind of fueling something. This was igniting something, igniting these mania-like feelings and very energetic, unstoppable like emotions that, coupled with the running every day and getting more physically fit and getting more aesthetically pleasing, like when your body looks better and you can look at yourself in the mirror and you feel better, you feel more confident, how you present yourself in the world. All of these started adding together and it was all combining into one. So as this was happening and as I'm running every day, it got to a point that I stopped. I started barely sleeping. I would sleep for maybe a couple hours and then I'd wake up and I'd have this intense urge that I need to run. I need to run. So I would wake up after only having slept a few hours and I just go running in the middle of the night. So I'm constantly running. And in this mania state, it was very interesting. There was a lot of interesting things going on because the mindset, I'll try to explain the mindset. The mindset was almost of, I cannot fail. I cannot fail. I cannot lose. I'm unbreakable. This was the kind of message that I was trying to embed into my mentality, embed into my psyche, into my consciousness, that I cannot fail. I will do what I set out to do no matter what, no matter the pain. Do not stop. You cannot break. And I was telling myself, your mentality, your brain, your mind is where that's what takes you forward. That's what takes you and propels you into the future of achieving and doing the things that you said you would do. It's not the mind that stopped, it's the body. It's your body that has the physical limitations. Or was it, maybe it's the other way around. Your body can do so much more. It's your mentality. Once you're in your mind, you say no, that's when the body will say no. So I got the mixed around. It's the other way around. Your body will do and go so much further than you think is possible. It's your mentality that will ultimately stop first. But in these states or nights running. I'd go running in the middle of the night, and I'm very sleep deprived. I'm very almost like agitated and getting aggressive because I'm running so much. I'm working out so much. I'm so passionate and expressive. There was paranoia, a lot of paranoia, especially running in the dark, sleep deprived. These mania state, elevated state is not a good. It's not a good recipe for success. So there was a lot of paranoia as I would run. Maybe I'll probably get into that another time of what was really going on as I was running. But I got to a point probably by around day 50 of running that I had to go to the hospital at that point. I had gotten to a point that I had essentially succeeded. In my mind, I had succeeded in my mission to break myself. In the initial instincts of or instances of when I was running and I'm running down the street saying out loud that I will break you, without truly knowing what that would look like, I had succeeded in that mission. Which is maybe some dark humor, whatever. But at that point, I had to go to the psych ward and go to the hospital and be hospitalized for some of the emotions and things that were happening with not being able to stop myself, essentially, not being able to stabilize my mind or stabilize my sleeping or stabilize my thinking and working out. That I'm working out so much, I'm running so much, I'm not able to stop it anymore. That's kind of the mentality that it got to. So I tell this story because I'll tell this story kind of as a way to dip my toes into the pool of being more open and a little more vulnerable to some of the stories of psychiatry and mental health and psych wards and these different things, because with this show, that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to discuss these things. I'm going to discuss, along with many other things, but a big portion of the show will be these personal stories or these personal past, maybe things that I'm fearful of sharing, fearful of expressing, but I'm going to do it anyways. So that little story there is kind of just a way for me to kind of throw myself in a little bit because I'm fearful of it. I'm fearful of telling those stories, partly due to the opinions that can come back the other way from it, the opinions that telling a story and sharing a story similar to that can present, or telling people of experiences in the psych ward or your experiences with mental health issues. Because whether they will truly divulge their true opinions or true feelings towards you when you share some of these things, because if you're around someone, or say in a job interview, and you share, oh, I have prior experiences with going to a psych ward, or I have this mental illness or this mental illness, whether they then have a bias or then they discredit you for some sort of reason without telling you, it may be there potentially. It's probably there. It's likely there. So that's where some of the fear of telling some of these stories or telling some of your mental illness problems or mental health problems stems from a lot of people, I think, is that you don't truly know how someone will receive that message. You don't truly know what kind of information or knowledge they have of these experiences, what kind of education they have around it, what movie representation, what TV show representation they've seen of different mental health things. So how do they think in their mind that someone with these things look? How crazy or how off the walls are some of these people that go through these things? So at times we're hesitant. We as the mental health people, we can be hesitant to share the stories or share some of the things that have happened because there's true fear And I think rightfully so, that you don't know how then someone's going to interact with you or perceive who you are as a person, or potential dangerous person, or impulsive person, whatever it may be. But I wanted to share that story, and what I learned, and it's kind of an interesting story. It's kind of just a throwaway story that I thought was funny. I think it's cool, honestly, because I'm running. I'm gonna break you, and then I did. Succeeded. End up in the psych ward, and this was it. This was actually in COVID. It was around 2020, the beginning of COVID, and I ended up in the psych ward, and they put me in PICU, so which is psychiatric intensive care unit, because they had to compartmentalize. They had to keep people segregated with the COVID protocols. So I ended up in this isolated sect of the hospital that I was alone in this back corridor by myself. So it's like I'm during COVID, restriction lockdowns, in your house, no isolation. Then I'm in the hospital, in the intensive care unit, isolation. So it's kind of interesting. It's funny. But what's interesting about that specific time in the hospital is that because there was no one else in the hospital or like really on the floor, I had a speaker. I was just blasting music. They kind of let me do whatever I wanted. They were really cool about it because there was really no one around. So yeah, I blasted music, just work out, do yoga, do push-ups, kind of do my own thing. The time I was in there, till finally got the mania, got the David Goggins spirit out of me of pushing forward and pushing through any pain, any discomfort, any mental obstacles, no matter what, till that dissipated a little bit, that I was more of a stable footing, then I could re-enter the world as a normal citizen again, you could say. But with these experiences, as I go through more hardships, or as I go through more episodes of psychosis or psychotic breaks or manic episodes, depressive episodes, the more I go through them, the more I almost welcome them. And you may hear that, and that may sound very strange. You may go, what the hell is he talking about? Welcomes them. And I welcome them, and I almost look forward to them in a sense, because I've learned that the more hardships that you have, the more difficult experiences, the more fights you go through, you learn from them. You learn every time coming out of a hard battle, or a hard situation, or a failing on a project, failing on a business endeavor, failing on a relationship. And then you come out of it, and with the reflection, with sitting and analyzing and reflecting upon that thing, you gain more knowledge, you gain more wisdom and experience. And not only that, you're less fearful of that thing because you've already gone through it one time. You've already lived it and acknowledged it and have this exposure to what it is. So you're much less fearful of what that thing is. So the more I go through these different episodes and hospitalizations, I'm not fearful of them at all anymore, which I think is almost dangerous it's almost dangerous to a certain extent. But I would rather be not fearful of episodes or potential downfalls at all than so fearful that it stops me from doing everything, or it stops me from taking a step, or taking a step of changing something, or a new way of life, or a new hobby. I don't want to be so fearful that I'm so restricted that I can't do anything in life. That's like being so fearful that you're never willing to leave the harbor, your boat. You build the boat, and you're never willing to be set free and go to sea and wherever that takes you because you're scared of the waters, which is maybe a bad metaphor because I hate water. I don't want to be. But the more the more tragic and very life impacting and serious episodes and experiences that I went through was, and yeah, they suck. It sucks to go to a hospital. It sucks to go to a psych ward for maybe months. And then you come home. In that situation, that experience isn't over just because now you're home and you're out of the hospital. No, you're home, you're out of the hospital, but now maybe you're on new medications. Your brain, your body is interacting differently. Maybe you're gaining all kinds of weight. Maybe you're losing all kinds of weight. Maybe your mind, the way you think, your whole worldview has shifted because of what happened while you were in that hospital. Pardon me. Similar to how you may go to the hospital for a surgery or procedure, and that hardship, those problems aren't done just because you're at home now. Maybe there's all the physiotherapy, all the healing, all the muscle training, the strength you need to gain back is now what the process is. So it can be a long process, these episodes or these experiences. The key thing is that you don't become cynical or you don't become overly negative just because they've happened. You tell yourself, I'm stronger for it. I'm stronger for each and every one. I'm stronger that that happened. And I saw myself, no matter how long it took, no matter how dark it may have seemed, how hopeless you may have felt in certain times, but in a long enough time frame, and with a positive mind and doing the right things, you get out of it and you look back and you realize, wow, at a time I felt I truly would have never been able to get out of that experience. That was it. I was hopeless. My life was never going to get better. The hardships, the difficulties, they were never going to end. My pain, my suffering, it would never end. And then you're on top of the hill, you're over the hump, and you look back and you go, wow, I can't believe that I'm on the other side of that. At that time, it felt that I would never see the other side of the tunnel. I'd never felt that I would get through that. But it's important to try to remember your past hardships and what it felt like getting out of the past hardships, that maybe when you enter a new hardship or a new tough experience that, okay, I've been here before, I've dealt with this before, and remember the things that you did to get better. Remember how you reflected and analyzed and looked at what helped you in life, and try to take similar steps, try to take the similar path back to a better, healthier way of living. So, yeah, that's part of what's, I don't know, part of, I just ramble. I just ramble. I start the show and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this and maybe this, and then I end up just, which is, call it what it is, whatever. But in so doing, starting to get ready for the Be My Guest saga. Got a hiccup. Burp. Excuse me. But in so getting ready for the Be My Guest saga show, I almost became very elevated, very manic. I don't know if it was on purpose or it was because I was getting close to doing something that I'm very scared of, which telling very personal or potentially traumatic experiences to the world, to have the world of judgment and the world of everyone's opinions be then put on me potentially. So in me deciding like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, this is going forward, this is the path I'm taking, there's no going back. For once I take the stage, I'm not going back behind the curtain once I come out onto the stage. And once I really admitted that to myself and decided, yes, that's the way, that's what I'm doing, I almost this energy, this mania-like symptoms were coming up. And I think that was to allow me to get over some of the fears, because the fears can be so strong, the anxieties can be so strong that they're binding, and they just constrain and restrict you from then being able to do what you said you were going to do, or do what you want to ultimately do. So I almost went into a different state for a little bit to break through, the initial barrier, post some of the videos, do some of the things, so then I can't retreat. Because if I come out here and I post 100 videos and I tell all these stories and I share these experiences, I've I've got over the hump. I've got over the fear. I've already put it out in the world. There's no point in going back. It doesn't matter, right? So I'm kind of up front. I kind of just tried to push it through, penetrate the wall, penetrate with the message, the information, get out videos, produce, share some stories, share some things, so that even if I want to crawl back into a hole and say, no, I don't want people to know those things, I don't want people to know those stories, it's already too late. It already doesn't matter, because I've already put forth that information for the world to see, for the world to judge. So at that point, it won't even matter. And I'm not even I'm not even someone that likes talking about myself. I mean, you may look at this show of me, it's a show about my life and past experiences, or a show about mental health and psychiatry, different things. So that may be a funny statement to hear. In the world, or in and around my family and friends, I would say I'm more quiet. I don't I don't enjoy talking about myself. If I'm prompted correctly, or if I'm asked the right questions, I do enjoy then expressing certain things or certain stories, but I don't willingly just bring forth that information and the stories. It takes the right setting, or it takes the right privacy, or the right person to have those conversations with. But I kind of realized and recognized in a setting where it's one on one with the camera, there's it's a level of intimacy that it's one on one with the camera, but it's also I can talk and express freely. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. I can talk about whatever I'm interested in, and I don't have to answer to any other person. No other influence can affect what I'm saying here. If I don't want to talk about something, I don't have to. If I don't want to share something, I don't have to. Or if I do want to share something, I can, and no one else can tell me not to. So that's the kind of I was almost in search of the right platform for many years. I was almost I would because I've made videos before, I've been public before, I've done some interviews, these types of things, but it's almost that I've never found the right platform, or the right way of communicating these types of messages, or these types of stories. And I believe being live is very impactful and influential. I like being live. I like the type of intimacy being live has, because it's more raw, it's more authentic, it's more genuine. I'm not sitting and recording and then cutting it up, cutting out the, the little lapses, or the little mistakes, or the imperfections. It's honest. It's me being honest and open and sharing whatever, without no cuts, no production stuff. So I like that aspect of being live. And yeah, I will get better though. I will get much better at this show, because even there, try to go and look at like notes, and my brain just starts reading, and I get off track. I get off track. But that was good. It was good for me to just share a story, or because And I'll get to a point in this show, and I'll get to a point in life that I'll really not want to talk about myself at all, which is okay. But for right now, I mean, I would prefer not to talk about myself right now either. But I think there's an archive of information or an archive of experiences and stories, a well that I can draw from and pull very important information out of that I can share for other people and that could hopefully resonate resonate with other people, some of these stories and experiences. So although I may not want to talk about myself or share some of my own personal stories, there is a lot there over the last 7 years that I can bring forward and share and tell that will ultimately help other people. So it is well worth doing it, whether I want to or not, whether I'm uncomfortable doing it or not. It is more than it's more than worth doing in sharing the stories and experiences. Because I'm thinking about some of the stories that I'll end up sharing eventually, and truly being in the psych ward or being in the intensive care unit and interacting with the world or interacting with certain medications and being completely open and vulnerable to everything. I'm not quite there yet, or I'm not there right now. And one day I will be, and it's interesting to think about telling certain things or sharing certain things. I think it'll just come with time. It'll come with time. It'll come with doing more shows similar to this and putting it out in the world and getting feedback and going, okay, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I did it. I got over that fear of telling that story and I put it out and there it's out in the world. And now you go on and you say, okay, what's next? What's the next challenge? What scares me or what am I fearful of that I need to conquer next? And I think that can be a lighthouse in the dark at times of or a guiding thing that what am I fearful of? What am I scared of doing? What am I scared of talking about? And whatever that is, you have to pursue it. And one for me, one particular is public speaking. And not this. I'm way more comfortable sitting in front of a camera and talking to the world doing this, which I wouldn't consider this public speaking. I'm in a room closed off from the world, one on one with the camera. I don't consider this public speaking. There aren't butterflies, there aren't anxieties. Before I go live, it's not like, oh no, the world. I think there's a level of disconnect with the camera and the microphone that takes away from that. But when I'm in a group setting, and even it could be 5, 6 people, and even just having to introduce myself, I get nervous, I get shaky, I get anxiety about just what words I'm gonna say, and it's very very strange because I'll come and do this and I don't care at all. This doesn't affect me, this doesn't bother me, and this could have a far further reaching audience than sitting in a group of 5, 6 people and talking. So it's interesting. But whatever that fear is, whatever those anxieties are, you need to pursue them. You need to step out and constantly be pursuing and evolving and building new neural networks in the brain and rewiring and growing. Let me read a couple notes. Let's see what I have. A couple notes that I have to talk about. But it's also, I was talking about this specific thing with ChatGPT that like philosophers and very like philosophical people and thinkers that existentialism, is that the word? Crises and existentialism. Existential crises in someone's life gives them something to draw stories out of, cool ideas or reflections out of the crisis or the hardship. So I think that experience or those experiences that I have can give me a lot to draw from, or a lot of stories to tell or information to bring forward. So it would be, I would be doing a disservice not to then actually divulge the information or talk about some of the stories or talk about some of the interactions and the world that psychiatry and mental health is ultimately. Let's see. Started going to. Okay, so that was like we'll call that topic one. We'll call that section topic one of the show. Another thing. This is just side off. No more prefacing. No more prefacing. No more ums, buts, or ands as transitionary words. No saying like. The idea, I was thinking about this, that, and I've been thinking about this. It's a work in progress. Okay, stay with me here on this. The principle of this idea that I think society and the world as a whole would have been better off if we stayed compartmentalized in our different tribes or different sects, different ways of developing healthcare, or different ways of developing religion, or different ways of developing technology over thousands of years, and we stayed in that kind of way. I think it would be beneficial more beneficial than what we have now. And obviously this is like turning back the clock, which we won't do, obviously. And obviously there would be some tribes, similar to how there are Amazonian tribes that still live in mud huts. There would be tribes that never evolve at all out of primitive ways of living, hunter-gatherer ways of living. And then you would have, I think about it like this, you would have like the Hindus and the Buddhists. For thousands of years, they stayed only around their region and learning and growing and developing technologies. And then you have like the Chinese and that section of the world with the I Ching and Confucianism and the Tao. And then you have Western society or North America developing its own way of living, its own technologies, the Mayas, the Incas, the Aztecs. And if they had it stayed for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, instead of now we all kind of intertwine and we all overlap and we all take from each other into one thing. It's like, is that one thing that we're all creating, that we're all pulling from each other into one, the best thing possible for everyone? Or would something better have evolved if one of these ancient traditions or technologies or ways of being stayed in its lane without having different civilizations come and impact it? But then with that way of thinking, that's how you get the world conquered, because when technology gets to a certain point, we have the innate instinct to conquer. And then you go and you show up on the shores with the guns and the cannons and the boats, and you say, hey, we're here now, and we have guns, we have gunpowder, you don't. You're going to lose. Or you fly a B-2 stealth bomber over the Amazonian tribes, and you go, hey, see that? That's a airplane, and drop a sun out of the sky. And what are they going to do with that? But I don't know where I was going with that. I've just been thinking, I think it would be interesting if there were still pockets of the world of the Hindus and the Chinese and the Europeans that were left. were left alone with no influence to change their direction or change what technology they would have ultimately come up with. So I don't know. I don't know. I need a couple more topics. I wrote down that first topic for today. I said, hey, just we're gonna go in. We're gonna talk about this story. We're gonna tell a story of when you were a crazy nutpath, running your butt off, screaming. You're gonna break yourself and end up in a psych ward. Okay, that's gonna be the show today. That was the premise. The premise of the show today is you telling the story about how you during COVID just decided you're going to run every single day and you're going to break your own mind and you're going to break yourself, and you did, and you ended up in the psych ward during COVID with nothing there, and that's the premise of the show. What a good idea. What a great storyline for this show. Interesting. It is interesting. Let's go browse around. Let's go browse around. Let's read Reddit. It will let me move. Okay, let's go read some good time. Oh, hospital action. People taking advantage of those in psych. During my last psychotic episode, I posted a series of blog posts on X Twitter about topics such as social control, mind control, parallels between World War II concentration, psychiatry, various conspiracy theories involving the state and large corporations. After posting, I was contacted by multiple accounts claiming government. They praised me, sharing truth, encouraged me to connect with high-profile figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I was also messaged by accounts claiming to be Emma Watson and even the Illuminati, referring to me as a child of God. Eventually, all of them tried to persuade me to donate or invest in suspicious schemes and push to move the conversation. Telegram. At the time, I genuinely believed I was communicating directly with Donald Trump via what appeared to be gold-verified Telegram account, saying things like, they're controlling everything. But we are advancing. Who do you think these people really are? If any of you experienced something similar, looking back at it significantly reinforced my perception of while I was unwell. Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's actually a true initiative and an actual organized, depending on what level of organization, who knows, but some people have an agenda to find people who have predispositions or who are more vulnerable to ideas and ideologies, and they'll see that and they'll take that and use that for their advantage, and kind of essentially like recruiting someone into their army, kind of similar to how, and this is a bigger concept or a bigger conspiracy theory, you could say, but the youth going to public schools and high schools and universities and being taught certain things or certain ideologies, being indoctrinated to think a certain way. It's kind of like recruiting into your army. It's getting ground soldiers to then go out into the world and spew your ideas. And I think there's a level of organization that finds people who are truly very, very vulnerable to potentially dangerous ideas or conspiratorial ideas, and they'll pull them in and then continue feeding that thing that they're on, that conspiracy, those delusions, those hallucinations, and they'll feed them, and that's when you end up getting school shootings and mass killings. Is these potentially psychotic people that are then just embedded with more information, more delusions, and instead of getting true help, they're further driven down a line of potential harm, potential danger, and then end up doing very dangerous things to large amounts of people. I do think that is true. I definitely think that's true. And this could be a small form of that, is someone having an agenda and seeing, hey, this could potentially be a psychotic, vulnerable person. I'm going to take them and recruit them into what I want them to do. I'm going to tell them they're nailing it, they're getting everything right, and then tell them, hey, do this, or prompt them and probe them to do something, and then you got a mass shooting, or you got something very dangerous on your hands. Anyone else's brain feel like it can't grasp that they live? There's times when I reflect on my experience, and it'll feel so genuinely foreign to my brain, like the whole time period felt like a nightmare. Barely grasp anymore. It's like my brain can't grasp the fact that I actually experienced it's a real happened to me, much less something I actually survived. I felt so strongly and completely that I had actually died and went to hell when my psychosis was at its peak. It's like my mind can't conceive that there was a then and now or after. My brain can't make that distinction. I'm now living after. That makes sense. I think it might be the way psychosis severely cognitive ability process, etc. Edit. It's not back time. This is an interesting one. This is interesting. I do think I think psychosis has a very, very, very drastic and severe impact on time. It disassociates you from time, and it almost scrambles your timeline of your life and your life experiences so drastically that you can't comprehend time. And it's not that I can't comprehend time, for example, day to day or minutes and hours, but an example I'll give is I'll talk about the past of when something happened, and I'll say, "Hey, do you remember when I did that thing? Maybe like I think I did it like 3 years ago." And then the person who I'm with, who knows about, maybe it's like my mom or something, they'll be like, "Oh, that was like a year ago." So the amount of like the comprehension on the time frame is so altered from like 4 years to it was only a year ago, and you go "Eh? Like why?" And yes, some people it's just like a memory thing, but after psychosis, I truly noticed this, that the time distortion, the time warping, the time manipulation, that's not only while you're in psychosis while it's happening, but then on the other side of psychosis, time is completely changed. It's so foreign and so different than it was prior to psychosis. It's very interesting. And what I said here, reflecting on the experience like it didn't happen. Yeah, it's kind of. I also look at psychosis as like you've ever been if you've ever been blackout drunk and then you wake up the next day and you see videos of yourself doing things that you have zero recollection of, or you have zero memory of doing those things, and you go, well, that's not even me. I mean, it's me. It's you can see yourself doing them, but there's no consciousness to those actions or no memory of you doing those things. I think psychosis is a similar thing, that happens, and then after doing it or after having lived it, like there's a disconnect. There's a very strong disconnect of, well, that wasn't even me. I mean, it was me in the physical form, but there was so much of it that is altered or a disconnect, or there's large portions of my psychosis that I don't remember at all. There's like a two I think there's like a 2 week period that I don't remember a single thing. Kind of scary. It's like a 2 week blackout. Doo, doo. I hate the stigma. I'm a hospice nurse, and the other day I was seeing a patient. We were sitting there chatting, and the patient brings up the fact her daughter recently divorced, and her now ex husband must have had bipolar because of how crazy he was. He evidently had anger issues, assumed he had bipolar because of how fast he could get upset. The part that hurt was that the social worker, a work friend, then agreed with her and said she was lucky she got away from him because those people don't care about other people's feelings. All the while, I'm sitting there listening and wanting to chime in and say, hey, I have bipolar. No one I know with the disorder even acts like that, but I stayed quiet. I just hate the stigma of being angry birds and all over the place. My disorder affects my energy levels more than anything. Anyone I know with bipolar is very kind and compassionate. So yeah. Yeah, I think this is a very common feeling that we the people have, is that we get an unfair representation of who we are. We get we get depictions through social media, or we get the most severe dramatic depictions from movies and history, and that's one shoe fits all, that everyone then with that label or those symptoms behaves and acts that way, or they're just sporadic, angry, impulsive, psychotic people. And it can be frustrating, and it's just ultimately at the end of the day, it's uneducated, unsympathetic people who they are just ignorant to doing their own education or a true representation of what it is, and it doesn't really matter because they can be ignorant if they want. It's okay. How can I set up a routine to take my meds? I've been having a hard time taking my medication. I think it's because of the hypomania. I went about 3 weeks with taking it, lost my routine, and struggling to remember. Take one dose in the morning after breakfast and another at night. Morning one is hard because it has to be after I eat. Dose I always forget. How can I improve? Um, yeah, this is important. It's like finding a routine that works or finding things that work. I mean, I'm not going to suggest what someone else does, or how they say, "Oh, I have to take one in the morning and have to take one at night." I think even I was recommended doing something similar, but it became so much easier for me to just take it once a day. And it's also, I think you're recommended to take it with food, but I you can kind of build a tolerance that's, and this isn't advice to anyone, this is just my own perspective, but I started building tolerance because they tell you to take it with food because it could really upset your stomach or some other reasons, but about the tolerance that you could take it on an empty stomach and take it whenever. But what I do is, so I don't forget, I have, obviously, people have their little medication things that have like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think those are really helpful so you can see if you've missed days or whatever. But every day I take that out, that that set whatever, what does that call, the medication calendar maybe, but I take it out and I put it on my kitchen island, and I put it somewhere that you can't miss. And I don't put it out for all day, but I'll put it out sometime in the evening or around dinner time. I'll take it out every single day and I'll just leave it there. And I that doesn't mean I take the medication at that time every single day, but I will, through walking through the kitchen or from dinner time to the rest of the night I go to bed, I'll remember that, like, oh hey, it's literally right there in your face. So you take it. That is something. That is something. I hate that my delusions make me work harder. I keep hearing in my head, all the beasts will bow, the cities will burn. They'll all bow before. It's so goddamn annoying. I'm not gonna rule anyone, hurt anyone, or take it. Worst part is, I can feel myself get excited and work harder when I hear it. I hate that, but it's finals and I have to take advantage of it. Gotta drink less coffee. Hope you all are well. I started thinking that I'm a mastermind. Finished a puzzle in the dead of night, constantly telling me about my genius. Everyone, everyone in awe at my superior intellect. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that though. There's nothing wrong with, you can either go around your life and your existence saying, every time you do something or every time you make a mistake, going, I'm an idiot, or I'm so stupid, or I'm retarded, or whatever you want to call yourself, or you say I'm dumb. And the more you tell yourself that, the more you'll convince yourself of that fact potential. So if you just walk around and you go, no, I'm a genius, or I'm a conqueror, or I'm capable of everything. I can do absolutely anything. Nothing can stop me. I'm a genius. And that's kind of how you live your life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's way better than the other. I think that is way better than the other. Okay, let's go to schizophrenia. Hans, I don't want to do it. Damn. Hot. Hot. Hot girl breakfast. I don't know. I should probably try not to show people. I mean, I'm live though. I'm posting, but I guess they're posting it to the internet. Anyone can go and see this, but it's not my intention. Anyone's faces come up. It's not my intention. Psycho now. I've never been on this. Okay, mushrooms saved me from destruction, but now I'm awake and completely alone. I'm 29 years old. I grew up in a place where I had to learn to take care of myself in a place where there were constant fights and bullying. My traumas were born. Then I grew up in that affected every couple. I'm here asking, does loneliness pass? My family doesn't understand. My coworkers don't understand. I live in a small town where everyone is asleep. Been processing all of this with ChatGPT because there's literally no one else. I'm here asking, does this loneliness pass? Have you found your tribe? How do you navigate being awake in a world of sleepers without going crazy from the isolation? I'm not looking for validation that I'm special. I know I'm not. I just want to know that I'm not the only one who feels. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel that way. You wake up and you're alone. You wake up and you're alone in this world. The lonely chapter is unfortunately part of the process. Keep working on yourself and find new groups and friends. All the luck in the world. A big part of me doing this show is kind of this reason too, is that you go through these psychotic episodes, these psychosis, and these life-altering, mind-bending, hallucinogenic states, and your reality changes, your conception of reality changes. The veil is lifted, and you can no longer return to who you once were before then having gone through that experience. And it was very lonely. It can be very lonely to want to talk about these things and want to share what you think goes on and what you think is real or what you think what's actually going on in the world. And like he says, using ChatGPT to talk about it. I do the same. I talk with ChatGPT. But partly in doing this show is for me to broadcast myself to the world and broadcast myself to people of mental health and psychiatry, so then it can reach potentially, hopefully, as far and as wide and as many people as possible, so then I can find like-minded people to talk about some of these things with. So they're asking, like, just being alone and being on Reddit, kind of talking about their experience. I'm doing the same, hoping to find people of similar experience and similar ideas. I'm just doing it in front of the camera and saying, where are you? You broadcast the channel. This is like in the Three Body Problem, the Chinese lady. She's up at the top of the mountain. She's typing in the message. She aims the big radio dish at the sun, the beam. She types, "Is there anyone out there? If so, show us a sign." This is me right now. I turned and aimed my big radio beam at the sun to broadcast into the universe and say, hey, any mental health, any psychiatry, any people of my lived experience, join me. Let's talk. let's figure this out. It's the same kind of concept. And if you don't know what the three body problem is, that's you're not gonna get that one. That's okay. You're on your own. Go watch the show. It's a good show. But you're on your own. Mental health. r/mental health. Anyone else just sleeping their life away? Oh, productivity drugs destroyed my mental health. I showered. I lived. I'm not good at. I don't like the overly negative types or the reading threads about people who are very. And I understand it very much so, being like down and depressive and wanting to find comfort and find uplifting words by others when you're very down and depressive, but being in a thread and just reading one after the other saying, I'm so down, I'm so sad, or my life's ruined, or constantly festering in negativity or festering in how things are going wrong. I don't want to be in that pool. It's not good. It's not good for the mindset, and it's not good to ultimately ascend to better things. You spend childhood. Interesting. Huh, Freud. I am still a victim of my thinking. I order my thinking quiet so that my thoughts, those, what is that word? Fully bounds, crawl to my. How can I hope to hear your voice louder to see her when all of my thoughts howl? Stunned, but I want to be stunned. Sworn to trust you, even if you led me through madness. How shall I ever walk under your sun if I do not drink the bitter draught of slumber? Help me, that I do not choke on my own knowledge. Fullness of my knowledge threatens to fall on me. My knowledge has 1,000 voices, an army roaring like lions. The air trembles when they speak. I am their defenseless sacrifice. Keep it far from me. Science, that clever knower, that bad prison master who binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. I want to go down cleansed into your depths with white garments and not rush in like some thief of the night, seizing whatever I can find, bleeding breathlessly. Carl Gustav Jung, Red Book. Don't run from my. I learn their names. This is good. That was a great line in there. Fullness of my knowledge threatens to fall on me. My knowledge has 1,000 voices, an army roaring like lions. The air trembles when they speak, and I am their defenseless sacrifice. Keep it far from me. Right here, science, that clever knower, that bad prison master who binds the soul and imprisons it in a lightless cell. What a quote that is. Wow. Science, that clever knower, that bad prison master who binds the soul, imprisons it in a lightless cell. Genius. Carl Gustav Jung. Part of me wants to read the Red Book. I have it. But part of me doesn't want to read it yet because it's him. It's his a collection of the black books that he worked on through his life. And it's compiled into one book. But it's him interacting with this metaphysical world, this spiritual world of his own psychosis, some of his own delusions or hallucinations, and him kind of interacting with this world. And that's what this book is about, and that's what this book is quotes are and stuff. So part of me wants to read it, but part of me doesn't want to read it until I'm a lot older, so I can live through my own experiences and reflect on my own stuff and share my own thoughts about psychosis and my own inner world and delusions and hallucinations, whatever. Share that without his already super impactful genius level intellect. I don't want mine to be, I don't want to just take everything he says and make it like my own or be take in and draw so much from it. I want to figure out my own or have my own true opinion of things, and then take my opinion and then read what he wrote and what he experienced, and then then see. So I don't want to read it too young. I'm probably gonna wait a lot of years to read the Red Book. Where is Terrence? There's Terrence McKenna. I always like to quote the British entomologist G.S. Haldane, who made a wonderful statement. The universe is not only stranger than we suppose, it is stranger than we can suppose. Terrence McKenna. Look at it. Look at the old wizard. Old wizard Terrence. Wow, that's pretty. That is pretty cool. Terrence. You brilliant madman, you. But brilliant. Let's go. Go talk to ChatGPT. Hello? Hello. I ran into the same technical difficulty. Let's see if it. Hello. 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 Well, well, we cannot go. Unless I can do something else. Give me 1 second. Nope. Technical difficulties. I worked on that for so long yesterday. Seems I need to work on it again. That's okay though. No big deal. That is going to be our episode for today. That was a little story. Not a ton of substance, but it was more so me trying to get over a hump, tell some stories, tell some vulnerabilities, some things I may be fearful of, put them out there into the world so that truly there's no going back. And I can see that there's nothing to be fearful of, and there's no reason to want to go back. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. So there's no reason to hide, no reason to be fearful. So that's Be My Guest. That is the episode for today. To anyone new here, to anyone watching, feel free, leave me a comment, any critique, anything I may be able to improve upon. I'm always all ears to try to get better and try to answer any questions or talk about any things that you may be interested in hearing about. So please let me know. Leave a like, maybe subscribe if you want. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye now.